Yeah, we back. Yeah, we back. Now, today's going to be a quick video. I'm going to be in and out. We got to debunk some French politicians talking crazy on the name and the legacy and the honor and the heritage of our forefathers. We can't allow that. We cannot allow that. We cannot allow the children of our implacable enemies to ever talk crazy. Never. Anyway, so the gentleman on the screen to the left, French politician by the name of François Asselineau, it recently came to my attention that he was talking crazy on the name and the honor of Dessalines. So because Dessalines, unfortunately, he's not here to defend himself, luckily for me, he has representatives, like myself, that can act as his defense attorney when, the adversary get it talking crazy. So that's what I'm gonna do today. Now, this conversation started because another French politician by the name of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, he is, I think, like a liberal. He's on the liberal side of the spectrum. I believe on the anniversary of the Haitian Revolution, I guess in a kind gesture, he decided to, give a salute to the Haitian people. Like I said, whatever, cool. He said this: August 22nd, 1791, the start of the Great Revolt in Saint-Domingue. Haiti's independence proclaimed by Dessalines, the former lieutenant of Toussaint Louverture in 1804, the first independent republic of the Americas, whatever, right? Now, nothing crazy, right? Just a simple acknowledgement. It's whatever. I don't care either way. But another French politician, the one we're going to be talking about and debunking today, for whatever reason, that got him outraged to where he just came out and, he had to speak his mind. So anyway, he responded to that and he said this: Mélenchon's selective history. Now, time out. Now, keep in mind, the other French politician, he didn't say anything. He just said, oh, today marks the anniversary, whatever, right? And this guy says, oh, you're being selective with the history. So he's going to come and give us the real history, right? Anyway, let's continue. The leader deems it useful to celebrate today the 234th anniversary on August 22nd, 1791. Now, first of all, it was August 21st. Anyway, the date of the start of the Great Revolt in Saint-Domingue. He finds it clever to mention in passing Dessalines, a French officer who turned rebel who proclaimed Haiti's independence. Now, first of all, off the rip, he's already lying. Dessalines was not a French officer turned rebel. Dessalines was a captive, a man held in bondage until he was in his 30s, with his body bearing the marks and the scars from the torture he experienced at the hands of the French colonists, right? So first of all, we got to get the story correct. Anyway, let's continue. Mélenchon certainly has the right to once again denigrate French history and celebrate our defeats, but intellectual honesty, historical truth, and moral conscience should have compelled Mélenchon to specify that Dessalines, who he cites as an anti-French hero, was in reality a bloodthirsty butcher. Indeed, he drove out the French, but he committed what would today be called war crimes and crimes against humanity. He ordered the massacre of all the French colonists, killing nearly 5,000 people, including women, children, and babies, between February and April 1804. In the aftermath, he had himself proclaimed emperor under the name of Jacques I in September 1804. He then established a hereditary and bloodthirsty dictatorship. He distributed the best lands of the murdered French colonists to his own officers, creating a Haitian nobility, the very opposite of an egalitarian society. He had the Constitution of May 1805 adopted, which established a ban on private property ownership for whites under a regime akin to the apartheid system in South Africa. In conclusion, the colonization and slavery committed by France was shameful, and it still haunts the memory of Haitians today. Contemporary French leaders have offered apologies on behalf of the French for acts committed centuries ago. Now, where do I begin? First things first, I want to debunk the point where he says Dessalines took all the land and distributed amongst all of his officers. First things first, one of the main reasons why Dessalines was assassinated was actually because he wanted to undertake certain land reforms because he believed that due to the fact that we all fought for independence, all of us should be proprietors. All of us should have a piece of property, a piece of land as a token for the services that we render for the nation. And due to the fact that there were certain men who, because their father was the French colonists, they believed that because this land belonged to my father, this is family property. So you're not going to take my property and redistribute it amongst the people because I'm the son of the French colonists. So we're going to organize an assassination against you. So that's the first lie that he told, right? You can't say Dessalines, oh, he took all the best land and gave it to his officers, when one of the main reasons he was assassinated was because he was going to give the land and distribute it amongst the people. And because there were certain men who felt threatened by that action, because like I said, they felt like this was family property. My father, the white Frenchman, I'm the natural inheritor of this property. That was the mentality of certain military officers. And that's a major reason why he was assassinated. Now, the next point, he says Dessalines was a bloodthirsty butcher. And the reason he gave to back up that assertion was, he says Dessalines killed 5,000 people, roughly approximately, including women and children, between February and April 1804. Now, here's the problem with that. And this is a very common narrative that you'll hear in Western academic circles. Dessalines was a genocider. Dessalines was a butcher. Dessalines was all type of negative connotations you can attach to his name. And then when you ask them, why do you feel that way? They go back and say, oh, well, he killed 4,000 people, 5,000 people, right? And then I would ask that person, okay, so roughly estimate how many people, how many black men, women, and children do you think died on the colony of Saint-Domingue during the colonial period? And that's the only question you have to ask, because you'll quickly realize that the person saying that, they never even took that into account. They never even factored that into the equation, right? So they're talking about Dessalines killed 4,000 people, 5,000 people, whatever, right? But then you ask them how many people died under French rule. They never even made the calculation, because in their mind, who cares? That's the mentality. The 5,000 French colonists, the 5,000 French pedophiles, the 5,000 French serial killers and their families, they have more value in the eyes of most people than the at least 1 million black men, women, and children that died between the 1600s and 1804 when independence was established, right? 5,000 French criminals has more value in the minds of the average person, especially in these Western academic circles, and especially in the minds of French politicians like this scumbag, than the at least 1 million, and that's a generous estimate, the at least 1 million that died under various circumstances: dehydration, malnutrition, overwork, murder, blunt force trauma, getting eaten alive, getting buried alive, getting thrown into a boiling pot of sugarcane. Like, that's the reality, right? 5,000 French colonists has more value in the eyes of the average citizen than over 1 million of our ancestors. That's why Dessalines is categorized as what he calls a butcher, a genocidaire, all this nonsense. But Napoleon Bonaparte is classified as the greatest general of all time, right? That's the world we live in. That's the reality. And listen, thank God, I am eternally grateful that our forefathers, our ancestors wrote a series of books from their perspective, giving their uncensored account of what happened, because they knew these scumbags were going to come back and rewrite the history. They knew that they were going to come back in 200 years and lie about everything that happened. So I just want to take this moment to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the forefathers for writing everything down. Thank you. And in fact, currently right now, I'm reading a book on my channel, a series where we have a Haitian politician by the name of Baron de Vasti, who actually wrote a book debunking the French journalists back in 1817. Check it out. I dropped a video last night, part 3. And I'm going to go back to what I read, a passage in that series, in that book, that I think is suitable for the occasion, right? Take a look up on the screen. Now, keep in mind, this book was written back in 1817. And within this passage, the ancestor is giving us a little account of, the days of the revolution. He said this: they formed plans of attack, the French. The French formed plans of attack, projects of extermination, and displayed them in publications and pamphlets, of which the tendency is to violate all laws of religion, justice, morals, and humanity. In fine, they proposed to exterminate our entire race to the very infant at the breast of the mother. Now, that's what people don't take into account, and that's what this scumbag doesn't take into account. The French government launched a campaign of extermination. The express goal of that military adventure by Napoleon Bonaparte was to literally genocide the population, right? The goal was to genocide the population and then import brand new fresh Africans from the continent so they can jumpstart slavery back again. So essentially what this French politician is saying is that Dessalines is a bloodthirsty butcher. He's a demon because he stopped us in our plans of genociding his people, right? He did not allow us to genocide his people. Imagine, that's like in Nazi Germany, right? Let's say you're in Nazi Germany, and coincidentally, by the way, guess what? Do you know that the French government was the first government to employ use of the gas chamber to kill large amounts of people, right? That was actually pioneered by the French general Rochambeau during the Haitian Revolution, which, like I said, was a war of extermination. So this man did all that talking, but he didn't want to mention the fact that, hey, by the way, guess what? We invented the gas chamber. But anyways, back to my analogy about Nazi Germany. Let's say in Nazi Germany, there was a Jewish leader who rose up and waged a violent resistance against the German Nazis. And then years later, decades later, centuries later, the Germans want to turn around and play victim because they failed in their attempt to genocide a group of people. That doesn't make any sense, bro. You cannot attempt to genocide a group of people, and because you were unsuccessful, you then turn around and then try to demonize them and play victim, and then try to invoke the memory of your dead women and children, right? That is literally like somebody breaking into your home with the express goal of killing you and your entire family. Killing you, your mom, your grandmother, your auntie, your baby sister, right? They break into your house with the goal of wiping everybody out. And then due to the fact that you stopped them dead in their tracks, they want to turn around and demonize you and villainize you and throw dirt on your name. But they don't want to talk about the fact that you broke into that person's house trying to kill him and his whole family. Kill his mama, kill his sister, kill his daughter, kill everybody, right? And he stopped you. And he turned around and killed you, right? And now you want to play victim. It doesn't work that way, bro. It does not work that way. And unfortunately for you, our forefathers actually wrote books detailing the accounts of what happened. So unfortunately, it's not a situation where it's a one-sided narrative where you get to dominate the conversation, brother. No, because the men who are on the battlefield, they turn around and wrote books and left that literature behind and passed it down to us. So we know what you did, brother. And we're going to go into the literature on the video today, right? Now, of course, y'all know that I read that book on my channel, The Colonial System Unveiled, written by the legendary ancestor, Baron de Vasty the Baron. Of course, he dropped this book back in 1814, The Colonial System Unveiled. And in this book, it gives a detailed account of the crimes committed by the French colonists during the days of the colony, right? And it gives the names of the colonists as well, calls out the colonists by name. So we can just take a look. Let's go into that book real quick, The Colonial System Unveiled, because this guy said that Dessalines was a butcher, a bloodthirsty demon, and things like that, and, you know, all type of slander and defamation. So let's go into the book that was written by our ancestors, telling us exactly what y'all did. Take a look up on the screen. Mr. Poncet owned a sugar plantation and had transformed his house into a prison. No one could approach it without shuddering in horror. All anybody ever heard in that place was the clattering of chains. Every one of his house slaves and his children was loaded down with them. All one ever heard there was the cracking of the whip and the cries of the poor souls being subjected to acts of torture. This monster had all of his house slaves castrated along with his quadroon offspring. After committing incest with his own daughter, he had her put to a most excruciating death, right? So time out. We have a Frenchman, Mr. Poncet, an owner of a sugar plantation. And not only did he enslave his own children and castrate his own, mixed race offspring, but he actually committed incest with his own daughter and then killed his own daughter, right? So say whatever you want about Dessalines, but back during his day, the ladies loved Dessalines. The ladies was going crazy for Dessalines. So Dessalines never had to have relations with his own daughter, right? Dessalines was a smooth player. He did not have to have relations with his own daughter, right? That's what y'all did. That was your forefathers. That was your predecessors. You have that type of DNA running in your vein. You have that type of genetic material running in your veins, right? So when you talk about Dessalines, brother, please talk about the men that came before you. Please talk about your forefathers. Please talk about your predecessors. Talk about your sick and twisted forefathers that were smashing their own daughters. Now, let's continue. After committing incest with his natural daughter, he had her put to a most excruciating death along with her mother, right? So he put the daughter and the mother to death, right? And his mixed race son was enslaved and castrated. And you mean to tell me that Dessalines was not justified in every single crime he committed against you? Now, let's continue. He put her to the most excruciating death along with her mother by placing boiling wax in their ears and leaving it to melt. This inhumane barbarian was strangled by his own son and the house slaves, provoked into taking their just revenge. They were broken alive on the wheels for that murder, which would never have taken place if Poncet had not gone unpunished for committing such a shameful outrage against nature. The repressive laws were not made for the colonists, and especially not for the big planters. Everything was permitted for them. So you saw what it said there. because this guy was such an inhumane barbarian, his own son killed him. His own son strangled him to death. And guess what? Because his son took justice into his own hands, his son was given the death penalty and executed for killing a French colonist. And listen, that's just one story out of several stories in that book. One story out of several, and it's not even the craziest story. It's not even the craziest story. It's actually pretty average compared to the other stories. It's way crazier stories in that book. Way crazier stories in that book, man. But anyways, like I said, I read that book on my channel before, The Colonial System Unveiled, and I'm actually going to play a clip of me actually reading the book, and you can actually hear the emotion and the anger and the rage as I'm reading the book. Now, keep in mind, I read that book along with the audience. So I was reading it for the first time, and I was reading it to the audience simultaneously. So you can hear the emotion as I'm reading it. So I'm going to play the clip from The Colonial System Unveiled way back. I dropped that way back. And yeah, because these guys say Dessalines is the bloodthirsty butcher. So let's really talk about who is the real bloodthirsty butcher, right? Don't get mad at Dessalines because you failed to genocide us. Don't be mad at Dessalines because you couldn't wipe us off the face of the earth. Listen, man, you a terrible criminal, right? You break into somebody's house to kill him. You failed to kill him. He kills you, and now you angry. Come on, man. Don't be mad because you a failed criminal. Anyways, I'm going to play the clip. I'll be right back. Whenever a child died, Mr. Larac, French settler resident at Balimbe, would put the disconsolate mother in an iron collar until such time as she produced a new one. He had a black woman confined in an underground dungeon that was a foot deep inside water, despite the fact that he had fathered three... Oh my God! Okay, let's continue. He had a black woman confined in an underground dungeon that was a foot deep inside water, despite the fact that he had fathered 3 children with the woman, whose only crime was to have offended him once. His children's entreaties, their tears, their prayers failed to move him. He showed no mercy and would not relent. The mother died of starvation and want. I obtained word. Oh my fucking God, bro. Mr. Dubril, slave ship captain, resident at the Cap, was ruthless with one of his negresses. She would be carved up on his orders, and then, when she was covered in blood, he would have boiling. Oh my God. He would have boiling oil poured over her wounds. His twin brother, a slave ship captain, had a negress who was his mistress flayed alive in a fit of jealousy. I can't do this shit, bro. I can't do this shit, man. All right, we back. We back. Now, listen. Thankfully, due to the fact that our forefathers wrote a series of books giving the real account of what happened, so your little fake account, oh man, Dessalines, he killed 5,000 people. He killed 5,000 people. He killed women and children. Like, since when did we cry for the memories of pedophiles and serial killers and criminals? Like, since when did we care about the memory of those type of individuals? How do you have the nerve to lay judgment at any of our forefathers when the men that came before you, your predecessors, were feeding people to dogs, burning people alive, drowning people in the ocean, committing mass shootings, mass hangings? And that's not even taking into account, like I said, the millions of people that died from the 1600s to the 1800s, simply due to the conditions they were living in and also due to murder. So if you ask me, and I'm going to say this very bluntly, if you ask me, if you compare the amount of our ancestors that died under the yoke of bondage, and then you compare the French that died, brother, you got off light. You got off easy, especially since after Dessalines died, after Christophe died, you turn around and conspired with your mixed race sons to come back and economically reconquer the country. So to be honest, in the grand scheme of things, you got off easy. So you really should stop slandering our forefathers for no reason. Stop throwing dirt on their name because, to be honest, they were generous with you. If you ask me, you only got a slap on the wrist. Yes, of course, there were French that died, but you did not feel the true severity and the true consequences for your actions at the level that you should have. You got off easy. You got off light. And I really think you should just stop talking about the men that came before us, our saviors, the men that spilled blood for us, the men that sacrificed themselves for us. Because you don't come from a lineage of honorable people. You don't come from a lineage of men who have honor and integrity and dignity. And in fact, isn't the French economy currently in full collapse? Why are you even sitting around having conversations about Dessalines? Bro, go worry about that IMF bailout that you got to go get to save your damn country. You are a clown, bro. You a clown. Anyways, man, not going to be here too long, man. It's your boy Neferkari Dessalines back in the Billy, yes indeed. Second single off the next project, The Spy and Bomber Code. Check it out. Pin comment at the top. Link in the description, and I'm gone. Peace.
Feel like a see me, I feel like I'm Saudi or ran up on Yan in the middle of Bamako. Enemy line, they claiming he innocent. Don't do no talking, I gotta move militant. Don't do no talking, I hit him with facts. 1804, bringing it back. 1804 like I'm Mother Cap Henry. King with the vision, the crown never empty. Top of the mountain, my soldiers defend me. Ducking and dodging the foreign intelligence. Hitting my dance on the DGSE. Dodging they traps, still on my feet. Feeling impeccable, feel like I'm shining. Go to my neck and I'm flooded with diamonds. Go to my neck and I feel like a mess. Feel like a lion, I'm in the savannah. Feel like the king when I'm up in the jungle. Never defeated, I never been humble. Come out victorious every encounter. Money machine give me help when I count it. Money machine stack it up in a beat. Heart of a king and I ride for the team. Weight of the world got it stuck on my shoulders. Bet you can feel it, my heart getting colder. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in the whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in the whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in the whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in the whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater.